Hey, on this episode, we're going to take a quick crash course on social media marketing for creative people. It confuses a lot of people with all your options online. Does it confuse you? Perhaps? Well, after you listen to this, I think you'll have a better handle on this thing called social media. This is The Creative Entrepreneur, Season 2, Episode 10. Hello again and welcome to The Creative Entrepreneur. This is Bob Baker. I appreciate you listening and subscribing and commenting and liking and whatever you do to interact with this podcast. It is much appreciated by your humble host here. Just to let you know, I'm really excited about some interviews that I'm setting up that I should be conducting this week and releasing in upcoming weeks with some pretty cool people. I'm going to get back to mixing in the interview format. And so I'm not even going to tell you who I'm interviewing, but I'm really excited about it, and I think you will enjoy them once I publish them. How's that for a tease? But first, we need to get through this excellent episode right here, which features part of an interview that I did with Carole Baker. And yes, we share the same last name, but there's no relation that we know of. She is a social media expert. She runs a company called Cherry Pie Social. And this is part of an interview that I did for my new Empowered Artist Mastermind group. I just wanted to share that with you and give you a little taste of what members are enjoying a couple of times a month. I'll provide a link to the Mastermind page for you to check out all the great benefits that you get when you're a member, but it includes a private Facebook group a couple of times a month. There are live calls with either myself answering questions or teaching a particular topic or interviewing someone like Carole, an expert in their field, or maybe a mover and shaker who is a member of the mastermind group who just has something of value to share. And the Facebook group has been pretty active. There's a lot of interaction going on. That's the whole reason that I designed that. It's if you've ever thought about having a mastermind group, in your local area where you meet on a regular basis with folks, well, all the power to you. You could seek them out or create them. However, I've done some of that work for you and created it in a virtual format. There are people of all creative fields, musicians, writers, visual artists, and so on, from really around the world, who come together in this private Facebook group, who get together on the calls. I also encourage people to team up with success partners, somebody you communicate with from 1 to 3 to 5 times a week, whatever frequency works for you, to encourage and inspire each other and hold each other accountable in a fun, friendly way that gets you to take action and then get results from those. So go check out the page. It's in the link somewhere. You can also go to empartist.com. Just think of the first 3 letters of the word empowered, empartist.com. Scroll down a little bit and you'll find a link to the mastermind group. And of course, this phrase empowered artist was inspired by my latest book, my 11th physical paperback book called The Empowered Artist. It's a call to action for musicians, writers, visual artists, and anyone who wants to make a difference with their creativity. And I recently did an experiment and offered this bundle where I will actually ship the paperback copy to folks anywhere in the world for no additional cost. And it comes with a lot of cool downloadable or digital bonuses like an ebook and an audiobook and an online course. And I'll also provide a link to that. A lot of people took me up on it. I'm shipping books all over the world. It's awesome that the word is spreading. And I would love for it to spread to your neck of the woods as well. So on to that excerpt of the interview. So my girlfriend Pooki and I recently over the summer spent like 10 days in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it was just really awesome. If you've never been there, it's a very creative town. There's art galleries and musicians and writers and creative people of all types in that city. And on our last night, we had dinner with a group of people, and I sat next to Carole Baker, my guest in this interview. And she's not only fun and extremely savvy and knowledgeable, she runs this company called Cherry Pie Social, which has really grown over the last couple of years, and she's doing amazing things for the clients that she works with, and she's extremely knowledgeable about social media. And so I wanted to invite her on as a guest for like it was over an hour interview and an interactive thing where we took questions, from some of the mastermind members. But here's a little excerpt that gives you a little bit about her background and the successes that she's had, and then some of our best advice on how to embrace social media so that it's not a chore, so that you actually enjoy doing it, and some early steps that you can take just to make the whole process run more smoothly and be more effective for you. So here's part of my interview with Carole Baker.
Do you want to maybe point out one or two highlights of things that you've done for some of the companies that you've helped with their social media, just as a reference, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty?
Well, there's a national brand that I work for called Functional Formularies, and their main product that they sell is the world's first organic whole foods feeding tube formula. And the people that use this product are ALS patients, stage 4 cancer patients that have lost their ability to swallow. There's the gastroparesis, I'm pronouncing that wrong, community, gastro something or other. There are people that are just in debilitating diseases where they've lost the ability to swallow. It's in competition with big companies like Ensure, big brands like Nestle and Abbott Labs. So they're a small company that came out of nowhere from Ohio. And the only marketing they've used is social media. As I raise my hand, that would be me. The only marketing we did is social media. And as of this past June, they just had their biggest sales month ever. And we have a really, really engaged community on Facebook. I use Twitter in a whole different way for them. On Twitter, whenever they go to conferences all over the country, like, for example, they're going to a big conference in Nashville in October, what I do is I set up the stream ahead of time, and I follow everybody who's going to the conference. I engage, I interact, and then they show up at the conference, and everybody's just coming to their trade show that's going, oh, I met you on Twitter. You've been talking to me. Little do they know I'm behind the scenes at my keyboard, interacting on behalf of them. That's been a success story. Huge sales. Can't knock that. I have a client right now, another story, in Denver, and she's a life coach, and she has clients in Sydney, Paris, London, New York, and Denver, of course. Something new that's starting to happen, and I'm sure everybody on the call probably is aware of it, when an author is getting ready to publish a book or is being considered to be a keynote speaker, they'll say, well, how many Twitter followers do you have? Well, how many Facebook fans do you have? It's like that's a way to measure, hey, are you important enough for us to bring you on stage or do whatever it is? So she hired me just recently, and I've been doing some Facebook boosting campaigns for her, and we are so close to the 1,000 follower mark on Facebook, and it could happen today. We're just inching very, very close to it. So it may seem like a small thing, like, oh, whoopee, 1,000 followers on Facebook, but to this particular person in her area, getting to 1,000 is a big deal, and everything I do is organically.
Yeah, because I knew that in our conversations with each other, you've shared some of those. I just want everybody to know that, you've had some real success for people, so you know what you're doing. But no, we exchanged some bullet points that we can cover. We may or may not get to all of them, and we don't have to follow them in order. But I would like to start with the first one that you got there, because this is one that I preach a lot. The way it states is know your why. This is why you're using social media and how you measure success. Do you want to address that a little bit, and I might throw in my 2 cents on that too? Yeah.
Are you familiar with Simon Sinek's YouTube video?
Yeah, or the TED Talk that he did that blew up,
exactly.
And then it led to a book deal. He's got a couple of books out now. But yes, but go ahead and for the folks that don't know, why don't you summarize what that's about?
So for the folks that don't know, if you go to YouTube and you type in the search bar Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, it'll pop up, getting to why. And really it gets down to, like Apple computers, they don't go to market saying we make computers. They go to market saying we help creative people by giving them the tools to live their biggest life. I don't know. I'm not even saying it right. I'm sorry. I don't have it written down. But in other words, what is the why of what it is, what you do? And then how are you going to measure success? So why are you using social media? What's the point? And a lot of people jump into social media because everybody else is doing it and their competitors are doing it. But really, I ask them point blank when I first meet with a new client, what's the point? Why do you care about social media? And then I keep asking questions to get down to the nitty gritty. Why are you doing this? You have to really understand why you're doing this, or there's no point to it. And then, if you are going to invest time in social media, how are you going to measure what success is? When you feel like I've reached the mountaintop, I'm successful now, I'm doing this right, this is cool. How do you know it? For me personally, I go to parties and somebody introduces me to somebody and they go, "Oh, you're Carole Baker with Cherry Pie Social." I'm like, "Yeah, how do you know me?" And they're like, "Oh, we see your stuff on Facebook all the time, or Twitter." So that's how I measure success, Bob. I mean, it's kind of lame. I've got all kinds of digital ways that I measure success, like hits to a website and retweets and likes on a post, and I have all those kind of measurements. But also, I just know. And one of my best customers here in Santa Fe, I said, here we are a year later. I'm still working for you. You haven't fired me yet. Why are we working together? It's because people walk in my place of business, and they tell me that, you're all over social media now. Wow, that's so cool. And so anyway, that's talking about
awesome.
Measurement.
That's great. And so, I'll just kind of add my spin on it, because actually I just published a new blog post on my author site, fulltimeauthor.com, that addressed this. And especially this is a great answer for when people going, why am I bothering? Especially when they get frustrated, which is kind of what we're going to be addressing here, is the overwhelm. And when they're only focusing on the tweets and spending time on Twitter and interacting, they go, why am I doing all this stuff? It seems like a waste of time to them, or why do I need to post an update? And so I ask, what's your bigger why? And for me, it's like, let's say in the case of an author, that can apply to musicians and everything. Why did you want to publish your book? Why do you want people to read this book? And I feel the biggest why is that it's going to improve people's lives. Either they're going to be inspired by your story, or they're going to be educated on a topic. They'll be entertained. There's some reason that human beings are going to benefit from interacting with your music, with your art, and that's the reason that you're doing this stuff. It's not about the individual tweet or or the Facebook update, or it's about the bigger reason. And I think that's what you're saying, in a way too. What's your greater mission or purpose with your creativity, with your product or service?
Can I get really personal here for a minute?
You bet, yeah.
I don't say I'm successful, but when I meet people, they go, "Wow, you've done amazing things in a year. We've been watching you," and people tell me I'm successful, but I'm not saying that about myself, okay? But the whole reason I get out of bed and I do what I'm doing, I need to pay my bills, but there's really the underlying reason. In reality, I have 2 daughters in college. What I can do is now be the best version of myself I can possibly be. I can grow this company. I can show them, look what your mom is doing. Look, your mom is living this happy, fulfilled life. I want to be my daughter's role model. I want them to say, "Oh, my God, I'm so proud of you." And it's actually happening now. My daughters will send me texts or whatever. They go, "Mom, we just saw this thingamajig you did, this thing." And, "Mom, oh, my God, we're so proud of you." They want me to send them T-shirts with my company name on it so they can wear my brand. I mean, seriously, I've reached success because my daughters are proud of me now. That's why I'm doing what I do. Every tweet, every post, everything I'm doing, it's because that's where the heart of my company is. I want my daughters to be proud of me and grow up to be women that are in charge of their lives too. So there you go. That's my very personal
That's awesome. I'm glad you shared that, because, I think it's vitally important. We all have our own personal reasons of tapping into that bigger why, the bigger picture. It's not. And for me, it's a better question, or a disempowering question, is for me to wake up in the morning or go to work and go, how can I sell more books today? I mean, yes, I do keep track of those metrics and measurement, but that's also what leads to me supporting myself and my family. However, a better question is, how can I influence, or how can I inspire and empower more people today? How can I inspire more artists to take action and get the results so that they share their art and impact the world in a greater way? And that, to me, is a bigger mission, gives me the fuel to do all these things instead of just getting caught up in the minutia of the little stuff that you have to do to get there, And the Simon Sinek, his quote that he repeats over and over in the TED Talk is, "People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it." And so, sharing your why with your audience too, in that bigger vision. Although maybe you wouldn't say, "Help me make my daughters proud of
no.
me." your public why for your clients would be, I can help you get a higher profile, and people at parties will go, hey, I just saw you on Instagram or whatever. So
yeah. I'm looking at bullet number 2, scoping out your mentors.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to speak in such a way that I'm talking to someone that's not necessarily fully evolved with their social media, but they're kind of, I'm speaking more to someone that hasn't really gotten into it and they're sort of at the beginning stages.
Sure. Yeah, they get their feet wet. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the very beginning, when you're setting up your social media strategy, one of my tips is, and it's kind of obvious, but it needs to be said, to scope out your mentors. Scope out the people that you admire, that you think have reached the pinnacle of success in their field, and study how they do what they do. Some people call it just listening. Instead of just jumping in and starting to chatter and just throw your posts out there, take time to see how the people that you respect and admire, how do they use social media? And that's actually how I got started, was by seeking out the best of the best. I was very intentional when I first started, and I looked for people that had already reached where I want to be, and I started to see, well, how do they do what they do? Where do they post? How often do they post? What did I like about what they did, and what did I not like? And things like what hashtags are they using? Different vertical markets, different fields use different hashtags. And you can simply get on Google. And this is a great shortcut. To me, it seems like, duh. I mean, everybody should know this, but some people, I don't know, maybe it just doesn't occur to them that you can just get on Google and say, who are the top musicians on Instagram? Boom. And Google will give you a blog post and feed it to you, and then you can go study them. But use Google to track down information so that you don't have to spend forever and ever and ever trying to figure out what are the most popular hashtags in your vertical market. Just go Google it and find out.
Before we go on, because you used the term a couple times, and just for anyone who might not know, as I think I have a basic grasp of it, but so when you say vertical market, what do you mean by that? Like a specific niche? Is that what you're talking about?
Vertical market, the way I use that term is, for example, hospital and healthcare would be a vertical market. Musicians, artists, creative people, that's a vertical market. Hospitality industry, tourism, that's a vertical market.
So a horizontal market, if we were to go to the opposite, is like a general, like a pop kind of, like it applies to everybody, where a vertical market, because you pick one niche and you go kind of deeper with that specific group than you would wide to a variety of audiences, right?
Like if there was a group of realtors on this call, we'd be talking about that vertical market. But right now, the people that are on the call are creatives, musicians, artists. That's my understanding.
Correct.
Right?
Oh, yeah, correct. Yeah. Correct. Just for those folks who weren't familiar with the term, I just wanted to clarify that. And I love that you're saying this, and so let's relate this to the arts. Usually, long before you become a writer, you're a reader of books,
Yeah.
And so you have and you resonate with certain writers and their style, and you tend to start off in your creative journey emulating the people that you admire. Same thing with musicians.
Yeah.
They emulate their favorite players. Artists too. I often still to this day do paintings and try to recreate a painting to find out, to decompose it or whatever you call it, or deconstruct it. That's it. Not decompose. That's a different thing. So it's the same way with social media. You want to observe what people are doing before you just jump in and start flailing around. Right.
Yeah, and I'm not going to. Hashtags are a separate bullet down below, but I don't want to jump ahead of myself. But we definitely are going to talk about hashtags because they're crucial to doing social media right, and I'll tell you why in a minute.
There you go. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Carole. And sorry to leave you hanging there with the hashtag thing. I was just looking for a place to edit, and that seemed like the most logical spot. My apologies for the cliffhanger. I really like the parts where we talked about, your big why. I mean, what's the reason that you're doing your art or publishing your book, doing your music, whatever it is to begin with, and then letting that drive you. And also the part there about observing your mentors or the leaders in your particular field, observing them for a while to get a feel for how you would like to approach your own social media activities. So you too can get access to live calls just like that, where you can interact with me or my guest, whoever it is that particular time, as a member of the Empowered Artist Mastermind group, and get all the other benefits that I mentioned earlier, the private Facebook group where you can go 24/7 and get and give advice and cheer people on and get encouragement yourself. It's just a pretty awesome, supportive, proactive group. So you can find out more about that at empartist.com. Scroll down a little bit and look for the Mastermind logo. All right, I can't wait to come back to you very soon with some of those interviews I've got lined up. Every week, there's some new inspiration for creative people just like you. So thank you for being who you are, for expressing yourself creatively, and for having an interest in not only honing your own skills and making yourself feel great because you're scratching that creative itch, but also for your sincere interest in making a difference in other people's lives through the art, the words, the music that you create. It's a really incredible, important, valuable thing that you're doing for the world. So I thank you. All right, I'm out of here for now. This is Bob Baker saying so long for now.